From the deserts of Arabia, an unstoppable tide of conquest surged. Across continents, empires crumbled before its might. Yet, one force stood defiant, a bastion against the storm, a few brave souls ready to challenge destiny. On a fateful day, two worlds collided with brutal force. A desperate battle for the very soul of a continent. The turning point arrived, a single moment echoing through time. One death shifted the balance of power forever. Imagine a world teetering on the brink, where the fate of an entire continent hung precariously in the balance. The gates of Europe themselves seemed under siege, their defenses threatened by an unprecedented tide of invasion. This was the 8th century, an era when kingdoms rose and fell, and history itself was poised for a seismic shift. From the Arabian Peninsula, the Umayyad Caliphate's relentless expansion had pushed westward with astonishing speed. Across North Africa and into the Iberian Peninsula, their dominion grew, seemingly unstoppable. A vast empire solidified. Now, their gaze turned north. Francia, the heart of Western Europe, lay exposed, beckoning a formidable invading force. This segment introduces the looming threat, a confrontation that would define an epoch and shape the course of nations. We set the stage for the pivotal Battle of Tours, a clash that would echo through centuries, a true turning point. Every decision, every moment of courage, would determine the destiny of countless generations yet to come. This was an epic clash between what appeared to be a vastly outnumbered Frankish force, fiercely defending their homeland. They faced a formidable invading army, battle-hardened and confident, seemingly invincible in its relentless advance. The odds were stacked. Yet, history has shown that numbers alone do not always guarantee ultimate victory. This wasn't merely a battle. It was a dawn, raid, strategically executed, designed to seize a decisive early advantage. A critical maneuver, a daring gamble that would etch itself into the annals of history as a monumental confrontation. Historians would forever debate its precise impact, yet none could deny its profound and lasting significance. This single engagement would become known as one of history's most pivotal turning points, altering civilization's paths. Join us as we uncover the true story of 300 versus 20,000, a battle that echoed through centuries. Welcome to a leading analysis channel, where we bring epic military history to life with unparalleled depth. The 8th century dawned on a fractured Europe, a continent reeling from centuries of upheaval and decline. Within Francia, a once mighty realm, internal strife and weak leadership threatened total collapse. The Merovingian kings, once powerful, were now shadows. Their authority had withered, becoming mere symbols. They were the do-nothing kings, their power usurped by ambitious nobles and palace mayors. This power vacuum left Francia vulnerable, a fragmented prize for any encroaching outside force. But from this chaos, a new force emerged. A man forged in conflict, destined for greatness. His name was Charles, son of Pepin of Herstal. He possessed an iron will and strategic brilliance. His ferocity in battle earned him a fearsome moniker, Martell, the Hammer, a name earned in blood. He rose through the ranks, proving himself a formidable warrior and a shrewd commander against all rivals. The decline of the Merovingians created the perfect crucible for Charles Martel's ascendancy to power. Martel consolidated his position, ruthlessly eliminating rivals and securing loyalty across the lands. He wasn't merely a warlord, he was a statesman, meticulously charting Francia's future course. Though not king, Charles Martel became the true power behind the Frankish throne, the kingmaker. His authority extended to every corner, controlling finances, justice, and the very lifeblood of Francia. Through sheer will and military might, he transformed a scattered collection of lords into a cohesive force. His strategic genius was evident in every campaign, consolidating fragmented realms with calculated precision. Martel reformed the Frankish military, abandoning old ways for a more disciplined professional army. He embraced new technologies, possibly integrating the stirrup, transforming Frankish cavalry into a fearsome weapon. His tactics were innovative, adapting to diverse enemies, always seeking the decisive advantage on the battlefield. This genius was not just for war, but for the complex political dance of unifying a disparate people. Martell understood that true strength lay in unity, not in fractured regional loyalties and endless feuds. He skillfully negotiated, coerced, and conquered to bind the disparate Frankish realms together under his dominion. Martell established a central administration, laying foundations for a unified Frankish identity and state. He fostered common laws and shared purpose, preparing the Franks not just for battle, but for nationhood. This unified realm, now a formidable power, stood poised on the brink of an existential struggle. Beyond the Pyrenees, a new, rapidly expanding power cast a long, menacing shadow over Europe. Martell, with foresight, recognized this burgeoning threat. He knew it was only a matter of time. He prepared his people not just for another skirmish, but for a confrontation that would define their future. This was more than a territorial dispute. It was a clash of civilizations, a fight for their very existence. The stage was set. Charles Martel, the hammer, had forged his people, awaiting the coming storm. From the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, an unstoppable tide began its westward surge. The Umayyad Caliphate was born. Driven by faith and ambition, their forces carved an empire across ancient lands, defying all previous limitations. City after city, kingdom after kingdom, succumbed to their relentless advance. The momentum was extraordinary. Across North Africa, the Caliphate established new provinces, assimilating diverse cultures into its burgeoning dominion. The legacy of Rome and Byzantium faded, replaced by the Crescent Banner. A new power restructured the continent. Their gaze then turned north, across the narrow straits. Europe, specifically the Iberian Peninsula, beckoned. In 711 AD, Tariq ibn Ziyad led the first Islamic armies into Europe, landing on what became Gibraltar. The Visigothic kingdom of Hispania, weakened by internal strife, was utterly unprepared for this new threat. Within a few short years, the Caliphate's forces had swept across the entire peninsula, establishing Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus became a beacon of learning and innovation, a vibrant jewel in the heart of the expanding caliphate. These were not mere raiding parties. This was a sophisticated military machine, meticulously organized and equipped. Their cavalry was legendary, their infantry well-trained, and their siege engineers masters of their craft. Superior tactics combined with disciplined forces forged an army that seemed truly invincible across continents. Logistics were paramount. Vast supply lines supported their relentless push, enabling campaigns far from home. Their military strategy was advanced, incorporating lessons from previous campaigns against powerful empires, but the Umayyad ambition knew no bounds. Their eyes now fixed upon the fertile lands of Francia. Economic motivations were powerful. The untapped wealth of Gaul, its resources and trade routes, promised immense riches. Underlying this ambition was also a profound religious zeal, extending the domain of Islam into new territories. Conquering the Pyrenees, the Umayyad armies spilled into southern Gaul, threatening the Frankish realm. Aquitaine, a largely independent duchy, became the next target, its cities falling before the advancing tide. Narbonne fell in 719, becoming a key base for further incursions, a strategic gateway into Francia. The strategic objective was clear: secure new territories, disrupt Frankish power, and expand the caliphate. They sought control of vital Roman roads, crucial arteries for trade and military movement across the continent. The ambition was limitless: to extend their empire far beyond the previous borders of any Islamic dominion. The rich agricultural lands of Gaul offered immense resources, a tempting prize for the ever-expanding caliphate. Their numbers were vast, their organization formidable, painting a vivid picture of immense power and ambition. Each victory fueled their drive, pushing them further north, into the heartland of the Frankish domain. The cities of Bordeaux and Tours, rich with monastic treasures, became the ultimate targets of this monumental push. The Caliphate's relentless westward march was a testament to their military prowess and unyielding will. This immense power and ambition brought them to the heart of Gaul, setting the stage for an epochal confrontation. The Umayyad tide surged across Europe, leaving destruction in its wake. Fear gripped the continent. Their relentless march threatened the very heart of Christendom, forcing a desperate decision upon its defenders. Messengers brought grim news. Cities had fallen, resistance crumbled, time was rapidly running out. Across Francia, the people knew a confrontation was inevitable. Survival hung precariously in the balance. Charles Martel, leader of the Franks, bore the immense weight of this impending cataclysm on his shoulders. He understood the scale of the threat, knowing a conventional fight would likely spell disaster. His commanders debated options, their voices low, aware of the formidable enemy they faced. But Charles possessed a brilliant mind for war, seeking not just a battle, but a decisive triumph. First, intelligence. Frankish scouts risked everything, meticulously gathering details of the enemy's movements. They charted the Umayyad's superior cavalry, their speed, their tactics, their overwhelming numbers. Charles knew their strength lay in rapid, devastating attacks. His defense must negate this advantage. Every detail, every rumor, was carefully weighed. Understanding the foe was paramount to victory. The Umayyad's likely path became clear. Through the heart of Gaul, targeting its richest cities, Charles embarked on a crucial quest to find the perfect ground, a place where his forces could truly stand. He surveyed the landscape between Tours and Poitiers, analyzing every hill, every river, every strategic choke point. Not just defensible terrain, but ground that would actively turn the Umayyad's strengths into weaknesses. They sought a position that could absorb a cavalry charge, then hold, unyielding, against all odds. Rivers, forests, and elevations were not just features, they were potential allies in the coming storm. Then they found it, a windswept plateau, strategically positioned between the vital cities of Tours and Poitiers. This elevated ground offered natural advantages, forcing the enemy to attack uphill, depleting their momentum. The plateau's flanks were protected by dense woods, making flanking maneuvers nearly impossible for cavalry. Here, the open field narrowed, a gauntlet thrown for the Umayyad forces, dictating their terms of engagement. This was the crucible, the chosen ground where Europe's fate would be decided. An ingenious tactical stroke. With the battlefield chosen, Charles summoned his leaders. The time for discussion was over. His plan was bold, demanding absolute discipline and unwavering courage from every Frankish warrior. Orders were dispatched. The call to arms echoed through the Frankish lands, summoning all who would fight. They understood the desperate stakes, ready to face an enemy many considered invincible. Here, on this plateau, from across Francia, warriors rallied. Seasoned Franks, hardy Alemanni, brave Bavarians, a diverse, united force. Farmers, hunters, and nobles alike answered the call, their resolve hardening with each passing day. This was not a professional standing army, but a levied force, bound by common threat and shared purpose. Their strength lay not in cavalry, but in their heavy infantry, their shields, and their unyielding determination. Every blade sharpened, every shield braced. They knew the Umayyad cavalry would test them brutally. Discipline became paramount. Charles knew that only a perfectly coordinated, resolute defense could prevail. Hour after hour, they drilled. The Frankish warriors learned to move as one, a living, breathing wall. Every man understood his role, his place in the shield wall, an unyielding bulwark against the coming storm. He instilled fierce determination, forging them into a weapon, ready to break the Umayyad's relentless charge. Their chosen formation, a deep, disciplined phalanx, a human fortress designed specifically to counter cavalry, shields interlocked, spears jutting forward, an impenetrable hedge of iron and wood, an immovable object. This tightly packed formation would absorb the shock of the Umayyad horsemen, blunting their devastating impact. The goal was simple: halt their advance at all costs. Hold the line, and victory might be possible. He placed his faith in the resolve of his men and the strategic genius of his chosen defense. The final preparations complete, the Frankish army awaited its fate. The gauntlet had been undeniably thrown. Upon this chosen ground, Charles Martel's ingenuity and his warriors' courage would soon face their ultimate test. The defense was assembled, the phalanx ready. The clash that would echo through centuries was moments away. The year 732 AD, two titans stand poised, their fates intertwined, on a field near Tours. Abd al-Rahman, confident in his vast cavalry, gave the signal. The initial assault was to begin. Across the open ground, the Umayyad tide surged forward, a relentless, powerful, and overwhelming charge. But Charles Martel's Franks stood firm, a wall of iron discipline forged through years of war. The initial impact was ferocious, a cacophony of metal on wood, shield against sword, and desperate screams. Each Frankish warrior was an anchor, their lives dependent on the man beside them. No retreat. The air filled with the clang of steel, the grunts of men, and the desperate struggle for survival. Wave after wave of cavalry crashed against Martell's unyielding line. It was a test of wills. Every thrust, every swing, a desperate attempt to create space, to survive the relentless onslaught. Martell watched, his strategic mind at work. His men's lives depended on his unwavering command. The Umayyad horsemen, though skilled, found their momentum blunted, their charges increasingly futile. The world narrowed to a small circle of brutal combat, endless attacks, and unyielding defense. The Frankish shield wall, a testament to discipline, proved far more resilient than expected. Arrows whistled through the air, adding to the deadly chorus, seeking chinks in the Frankish armor. The shield wall absorbed the missile fire, its solid formation a testament to their unwavering courage. Martell's choice of terrain proved crucial, forcing the cavalry into a narrow, concentrated front. Attempts to bypass the flanks met stubborn resistance, frustrating the Umayyad's superior numbers. Hours of brutal fighting began to take their toll. Exhaustion was a silent, insidious enemy. Frustration mounted within the Umayyad ranks. This stubborn defense was unexpected, a perplexing barrier. Yet, the Frankish resolve remained unbroken. They fought for their homes, their faith, their very lives. Each man was a bulwark, contributing to an impenetrable barrier, turning back the Muslim tide. The weight of their weapons, the strain of combat, became almost unbearable in the relentless fighting. The Umayyads focused their might, hammering the center, hoping to splinter the Frankish defenses. Shields shattered, armor groaned, but the Frankish line, though bruised, refused to yield. Martell's strategic foresight, predicting such an attack, now proved its true, invaluable worth. Fresh warriors bolstered the weary, seamlessly integrating into the shield wall's unwavering defense. The relentless charges, while powerful, were also costly, depleting Umayyad's stamina and cohesion. The Frankish standards remained high, defiant symbols of their unyielding resistance against overwhelming odds. Dust and sweat mingled with blood, transforming the battlefield into a brutal, visceral hellscape. The thunder of hooves, a constant, terrifying rhythm, heralded each new wave of attack. The Umayyads threw everything they had, relying on sheer numbers and equestrian prowess. Each Frankish face reflected a grim determination. Survival hinged on absolute, unyielding unity. Martell's men, though fewer, presented an impenetrable wall of spears, shields, and unshakable resolve. This was a battle of attrition, a test of endurance where every inch of ground was contested fiercely. The Umayyads' vast cavalry struggled to break the disciplined infantry, a strategic mismatch. Martell's careful planning ensured his smaller force could weather the overwhelming storm. For now, even in defense, small gains were made. Momentary reprieves forged in blood and iron. The armor of the Franks, though simple, proved effective, enduring countless blows from determined foes. The clang of steel echoed across the field, a brutal symphony of desperate close-quarters combat. Their spirit remained unbroken. Each Frankish roar was a challenge, a testament to their unwavering will. Martell's strategic foresight allowed his seemingly smaller force to weather the initial, relentless storm. The shield wall, a monument to human courage and tactical brilliance, stood unbroken after hours. The first hours of the battle had passed. The shield wall had held, defying all Umayyad expectations. The initial storm was weathered, but the tide of battle, relentless, had only just begun to turn. The battle raged, a maelstrom of steel and fury, pushing both sides to their absolute limits. Through sheer will, the Frankish shield wall stood firm, a bastion against the surging tide. Wave after wave of Umayyad cavalry hurled themselves forward, seeking any weakness in the Frankish line. Fatigue began to weigh heavy on every warrior, a testament to the battle's brutal, protracted nature. The field was a chaotic blur of conflict. Thousands fought and died in a desperate struggle for supremacy. Every strike, every parry, every breath was a battle in itself, a testament to raw human endurance. Under the vast sky, two civilizations clashed, their destinies hanging precariously in the balance. Umayyad warriors, driven by faith and fervor, pressed their attacks with relentless, unyielding force. The shield wall, though unbreakable, occasionally buckled, threatening to shatter under the immense strain. Martell watched his men, understanding the immense pressure. His unwavering gaze was their silent strength. The relentless pressure mounted, a suffocating weight that tested the limits of Frankish resolve. Moments of near collapse were common, yet each time, the Franks found the will to hold their ground. Al-Ghafiqi, the Umayyad commander, was a whirlwind of energy, inspiring his men with every command. He surveyed the battlefield, a strategic mind desperate to break the stubborn Frankish resistance. Impatient for victory, Al-Ghafiqi made a fateful decision. He would lead the next charge himself. His personal guard, loyal and fearsome, followed him into the deadliest part of the unfolding conflict. His determination was absolute, a powerful force driving his men deeper into the unyielding Frankish ranks. He plunged himself into the melee, leading by example, pushing his advantage with brutal efficiency. But in his audacious drive, Al-Ghafiqi had exposed himself, becoming a prime target for the enemy. From the disciplined Frankish ranks, a weapon was aimed, a moment that would change history. With brutal precision, the Frankish weapon found its mark. A devastating blow in the heart of the fray. The great commander staggered, his strength ebbing, the world around him blurring into chaos. His body crumpled from the saddle, hitting the blood-soaked earth with a grim final impact. Few witnessed the precise moment, but those who did understood the profound, terrible implication. Confusion rippled through his immediate guard. Their great leader had fallen, yet the battle raged. The commander lay motionless, a silent casualty of war, yet his army continued to fight. The whisper began, a deadly rumor spreading like wildfire through the Umayyad formations. Disbelief warred with fear as the grim news of their commander's death began to sink in. The initial disbelief quickly gave way to a dawning, terrifying realization of their dire situation. Without their leader, the mighty Umayyad lines began to falter, their cohesion rapidly dissolving. The central command structure dissolved into chaos, leaving thousands rudderless in the fight. Unit cohesion shattered. Individual warriors, suddenly leaderless, fought in isolated despair. On the Frankish side, a change was sensed. The enemy's pressure noticeably, suddenly, eased. Martell's astute gaze picked up on the subtle, yet undeniable shift in the enemy's fighting spirit. A profound realization swept through the Frankish ranks. The tide of battle had undeniably turned. Panic, an invisible yet potent enemy, finally took hold, consuming the once dominant Umayyad army. The retreat rapidly devolved into a dramatic, disorganized flight, a desperate scramble for survival. Warriors abandoned their positions, their armor, their very will to fight, fleeing the field. The Franks pursued, but Martell, ever cautious, ensured disciplined lines, preventing overextension. The landscape of battle transformed entirely. The hunter had become the hunted in swift, brutal fashion. The tide had turned, a moment etched into the annals of history, a definitive victory for the Franks. This was more than a mere victory. It was a strategic triumph of immense, immediate consequence. The battle's outcome redefined the course of Western history, securing its very foundations forever. Tours, 732. A single dawn raid, echoing through centuries, forever safeguarding Europe's destiny. As the sun dipped below the horizon, silence descended, a heavy shroud over the battlefield. The Franks remained vigilant, their bodies aching, their minds restless. Was the enemy truly broken? Fear of a cunning ambush permeated the cold night air. Every rustle, every shadow, a potential threat. Charles Martel, ever cautious, held his forces firm. Premature celebration could invite disaster. The night dragged on, a testament to the brutal conflict. Both sides had endured unimaginable trials. With the first pale fingers of dawn, a new kind of silence settled, an unnerving, profound stillness. Martell dispatched his swiftest scouts. Their mission, to ascertain the enemy's intentions at first light. Through the morning mist, the small band moved with extreme caution, every shadow a potential foe. They approached the Umayyad camp, a sprawling city of tents, now strangely devoid of movement. No sounds of awakening, no calls to prayer. Only a profound, unsettling quiet echoed across the plains. Tension mounted. Was this a trap? A calculated ruse to draw them into a fatal engagement? They entered the camp. Rows upon rows of tents stood empty, a ghost city under the breaking dawn. Empty pots, discarded possessions. The signs were undeniable. A hasty, panicked departure in the dark. The Umayyad army was gone. Not simply retreated, but vanished into the pre-dawn darkness. Bearing astonishing news, the scouts raced back. Their findings would shift the course of history. Martell received the report. His strategic gamble had paid off. The enemy was indeed in full retreat. The confirmation spread like wildfire. A resounding victory had been achieved without a final bloody confrontation. This was not a victory of annihilation, but one of strategic brilliance, forcing a complete withdrawal. Martell's genius lay not in destruction, but in disruption. He shattered their will to advance. The tide of invasion had been decisively turned. Western Europe breathed a collective, fragile sigh of relief. The Umayyad Caliphate's grand design for Europe had been irrevocably thwarted by Martell's resolve. A critical reprieve was secured. The future trajectory of Western civilization had been profoundly altered forever. Tours echoed through centuries, a testament to the moment Europe's destiny hung precariously in the balance. The dust of battle settled, but the true impact of Tours began to echo across centuries. Beyond the clash of swords, Tours fundamentally reshaped the destiny of an entire continent. Historians often cite 732 AD as a pivotal year, a crossroads for Western civilization. The Battle of Tours is largely remembered as the definitive halt to northward Islamic expansion. The mighty Umayyad Caliphate had swept across North Africa and Hispania with astonishing speed. Tours became the symbolic and largely literal northern barrier for their formidable advance into Europe. While Iberia's fate was sealed, Tours helped prevent a similar cultural transformation further north. This victory preserved a distinct cultural and religious trajectory for emergent Western Europe. The battle solidified Frankish dominance, cementing their position as Europe's nascent superpower. Charles Martel's authority soared. He became the unchallenged architect of Frankish supremacy. Tours planted the seeds of a new empire, laying groundwork for something grander still. Charles's son, Pippin the Short, would capitalize on this legacy, establishing the Carolingian dynasty. This pivotal moment paved the way for Charlemagne's vast empire, uniting much of Western Europe. Tours played a crucial role in shaping a distinct European identity, both culturally and politically. It was a fork in history, defining the cultural trajectory Europe would predominantly follow. The battle became central to the narrative of defending Christendom against external threats. This further solidified religious boundaries, deeply influencing future European socio-political structures. Modern historians continue to debate Tours' exact impact, discerning its true significance. While the savior of Europe narrative persists, its role is often seen with more nuanced understanding. Yet, the question lingers, what if the outcome at Tours had been dramatically different? A victorious Umayyad army could have reshaped Europe, ushering in a profoundly different cultural landscape. Imagine Europe's cultural, linguistic, and religious fabric, woven from entirely different threads. Regardless of specific interpretations, the echo of Tours undeniably resonates throughout history, shaping our world. Charles Martel, a name etched in the annals of time, emerged as a military genius. His vision changed history's course. He was more than a warrior. He was a steadfast defender, safeguarding the very bedrock of Western civilization's future. His legacy wasn't just victory, but the profound preservation of a cultural identity against overwhelming odds. The Battle of Tours, a clash of titans where courage met strategy in a struggle for continental dominance. Witness the raw bravery, the individual acts of heroism that forged an unbreakable shield on that fateful dawn. Martell's tactical acumen shone, transforming a desperate defense into a masterclass of battlefield control and innovation. The stakes were immense, stretching beyond mere territory. A civilization's very destiny hung in the balance. Every swing of the hammer was a defiant roar, a turning point echoing through the annals of war. Tours was not an end, but a beginning, a pivotal moment whose reverberations echoed through centuries of history. From ancient battlefields to modern nations, its impact is undeniable, shaping the world we know today. Here at a leading analysis channel, we bring these epic stories to life with cinematic precision. Delve deeper into the grandeur of military history with us. Uncover forgotten heroes and strategic masterpieces. Join our growing community of passionate history enthusiasts. Share your thoughts, expand your knowledge. The dawn raid that echoed through centuries. History's grandest narratives await your discovery. Be part of it.